specially designed music. I'm not fucking around, man. This is
Good
a
stuff.
real podcast, and this is our 5th episode. I am
Lucky number
Lucky number 5. I am absolutely thrilled to have Matteo Trevisan here with us.
Thank you.
Matteo is a very good friend. He is the only person I absolutely have to hug every time I see him. He is the coolest motherfucker on the planet, and I'm thrilled you're here. Thanks, man.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Welcome.
I appreciate it.
You probably have no idea why I wanted you to come in and what you have anything to do with real estate, but I see a lot of similarities between the two of us. You guys wouldn't know, and for those of you that don't know, Matteo Trevisan is the owner of Ital Interiors, which is much more than a furniture store in Toronto, but it is an absolutely amazing place, and you would find your kitchens, your furniture, and some of the nicest houses in the city.
Right.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So. Yeah.
And the similarity comes in that you work with your family.
Mm-hmm.
I came into this business, I'd been surrounded by it my entire life. My dad had his company that I came into, and you've got the same sort of situation.
Definitely. Yeah, with no education, just osmosis of it.
For sure. Growing up in the business.
Yeah.
Is your dad still active?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's really more a consultant for me, which is great. And I hope he sticks around for, many more years. Like he's 80 years old now. But he comes in like at 3:00,
Just saunters on in.
Yeah, that's right. But the calls, they start at around 11, 12 o'clock.
Well, what's going on? What did you do wrong?
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Or what to do, like he's really great like that. For being an 80-year-old, I mean, his ability to accept change or even want change is pretty remarkable, Yeah. So
and to have
he's done this. I'm just sort of continuing,
Yeah, well, he started it, I guess. But you get to bring a whole new spin to it and a whole new attitude to it. Yet you have all those years of experience at your fingertips, which is an awesome thing to have. And it's truly a family business because so you handle what? You handle the residential side of
That's
things.
Right.
And then there's a whole other side of your company that your siblings are involved with,
That's right. Yeah, that also my father started. And then my brother and sister and brother-in-law. They take care of that. That's really more the corporate office furniture, a very different level of work,
So you're dealing with the residential side. You're dealing with the same type of clients we would be dealing with in our
business. That's right. And much more one-on-one.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
Yeah.
You're a salesman.
That's right.
Yeah. But here's the question I have for you because, I bust your balls about this from time to time. Your store is an institution in this city, right? Mm-hmm. Yet it's all got to be word of mouth because I can't find a thing about you on the internet.
Yeah, we're terrible like that.
But
we're trying to enter
an amazing business without it.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And it absolutely is that. I think the biggest secret of our success is just return business. And as you said, word of mouth,
right. And that comes from you.
Well, yeah, you know what? It comes even from my father and the way that he did business.
Sure.
It's really not about, just selling a product. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of salespeople who are like, I could sell anything. Just tell me what it is and I'll sell it. No. We don't want that. We want to make sure that what we're putting in is the right thing for the people. Even size-wise and all of that. Just so at the end, they're happy.
Yeah.
And with that, then they come back. Then I'm a salesperson. I don't really like to deal with salespeople a lot of the time.
None of us do, right?
Right. So when you find someone that is honest or at least is, helpful and a go-to, that's when you want to keep using them.
For sure. But you must be developing relationships with your customers because on our side of the business in real estate, the majority of a good agent's business is going to come from their sphere of influence, and 80% of their business will always be repeat and referral, right?
Right.
Which I assume is the same situation from you.
Yeah.
And from you, they're buying a product, but the experience in buying the product is what you can have the most control over.
Absolutely. And the same, just as you're saying, the top agents, it's also the people that I have, like Valerie and Jessica, these two, Jessica's been with us for 16 years, Valerie, and she's my partner.
Yeah.
And
a wonderful lady.
Thank you. I think so too. And then there's Valerie, and she's been there for 14 years. And these guys they love what they do.
So do you get is it walk-in traffic you're getting, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, COVID definitely changed a lot of that. And I think a big thing, like we were able to continue to be successful during COVID, also because architects and designers,
right.
They were the ones that, like, we weren't going around soliciting people, but it
comes to you.
It comes to us. So I mean, we have to do a bit of both. We absolutely have to solicit and remind people that we're there.
So how are you doing that? Because I can't even find you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I know.
It's like you're the greatest secret in town, right? Like, honestly, it's an amazing
it's an
thing,
awful
Matteo.
thing. No, it's not. It's not. Like, that's actually a really, and we're working on that. So right now,
I'm not trying to hammer you. I'm just asking
rightfully,
because
you know what my dad does constantly, and
talks to you about this stuff.
Well, yes.
Well, think about it. Like,
yeah.
Your store's an institution, you're an institution, and people know if they're building a modern home, if they want the finest of the finest when it comes to kitchens or furniture or anything like that, they go to you. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But how the hell do they know to go to you?
The other is also where we are, where we're located, right? And, like my father's been there since 1985.
Actually, why don't you give people your address if you want to check out his showroom?
Thank you. So we are at 359 King Street East. It's a little bit of a furniture district right there. It's the King East Design District.
Yep.
And, I think it may have been like 1978 or 1980 that our competitors, Klaus Nienkamper, they were the first to move down there. Like, you didn't even want to walk down that street.
For sure.
Especially walking further east. We're at Berkeley.
You cross that street and it's a whole different world.
It was a whole different world. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But one of the reasons that they went there was because, they can get a good size space. And it was, back in the 80s, most of their business was to the financial district. And that is like a kilometer away, like just walking down King.
Yeah. People could come at lunch. They could just...
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And, back in the 80s, it was really either educated end users who loved design, and that was often in the Forest Hill community.
Sure.
Or it was architects, architects and designers who wanted different furniture, let's say, or contemporary, who had an appreciation for it. Yeah.
Listen, I am a bit of an ape. I'm a bit of a barbarian. It's when it comes to this sort of thing, right? Like, your furniture, the stuff that you carry is actually art. It's not like, you could look at a couch and I can appreciate a nice couch. But then, your stuff's an entirely different level. It's like literally part of the home, part of the design. It's like, it's art.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very architectural too. And there's even the whole evolution of design. But even just to go back, if we could, just about like the location and how we even generate business. A lot is that now our other competitors, who opened up maybe 20 years ago or so, they've all moved down into that area. So like for contemporary high-end Italian furniture, it's very much the spot. We have Nienkamper still there. He just sort of moved and a little bit downsized, but we have a large competitor next to him. Another one just further up on Berkeley. One even at Parliament there. So
someone's building a house. They spend a day with their designer, going to the neighborhood, and they hit all the shops.
Yeah, and you think like back then, 80s, 90s, like we were probably the only ones there, us and Nienkamper, but our sales are much bigger today than they were back then. And you have much more, which is just a good sign of even Toronto, that like design has, entered the mind of everyone. Like even, I've said it a few times, but even like companies like Umbra, it's now people aren't just going and buying a utilitarian garbage bin or waste, it's like, let's get one that's designed.
Yeah.
And that just 100%. Continues carry.
The people of Toronto have matured.
Definitely.
At least their tastes have matured.
Yes.
Yeah. So you foster relationships, I'm assuming, then with, I would have assumed only designers, but I guess you're telling me that you foster relationships with architects as well. And when people are building, you're involved right from the drawing phase?
Mm-hmm. So there are, it depends the way that the architects work. There are a lot that they do the entire scope. Like, even one like Cindy Rendley, like, she does the exterior, she does all the space planning, and then she picks every single material.
Really?
Yeah, and her clients love that.
Right.
And they they listen to her, and she like down to the rugs, down to even like plates.
Amazing.
Probably.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But these are people who, they live and breathe this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the successful architects, that's how they were.
Yeah.
Like even the ones from the past, the 20s and 30s,
Sure.
that's what they did.
It's like, I guess it's almost like a hobby, right? Like somebody who,
Or an obsession.
Yeah. Well, hobbies often become obsessions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I find it absolutely fascinating. And you have exclusive rights to certain products, right? My only option if I'm in North America or I'm in Canada or anything like that is to come to you, right? Because I know you've traveled all over North America installing kitchens and shit like that.
Yeah, that's right. So with most of the suppliers I carry, it's exclusives in Toronto. Now, being Canada, it's Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal.
Sure.
That's really it,
Not Kamloops, not Moose
yeah.
Jaw.
We have there have been even stores that have asked some of our suppliers to be represented in Winnipeg, and the suppliers are like, no,
worth it.
Yeah. But we have a lot of clients in Winnipeg.
Really?
Yeah. There are some great architects there. And
so do they just call you on the phone, or are they traveling to Toronto to come meet with you?
A bit of both. And these are also some that were dealing with my father back in the day.
Ago.
There's one that my father was dealing with, and now his son is an architect.
And he's dealing with you.
Yeah, or with Valerie at least. Yeah, with one of my...
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
It goes to show how, the experience, and this is something we discuss with our agents, right? Like, the experience is everything. And I know for a fact that you talk people out of buying certain things and, at great cost to yourself. But
like you as well.
Yeah, for sure.
You told me not to buy 2 or 3 homes I was like, let's do this. No.
Because it leads to, if your client knows that you're protecting them and they know you have their best interest at heart.
That's right.
That's genuine. You can't fake that, right? And it's such an important thing to do. And it just goes back, in my mind to thinking how successful you are just based on the relationships that you're creating people and the service that you provide, which is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And
but it's not all me again.
No, of course you have a team, but
Yeah.
you're the leader of the team right now. I certainly know Jess. I know how spectacular she is, and
Talented,
talented,
and she's also an architect. So
is she really?
Oh yeah,
that I did not know.
Yeah, and at Waterloo, where many of the good architects in Toronto, they've also studied there. Yeah.
Wow.
So she speaks their language, let's say,
Sure,
and gets that.
She can carry on a conversation with them.
Yes,
and not look like a complete fool.
Yeah,
where I would just be not.
But like even you said, if you were saying that I may not understand why you would ask me, but like homes and the furniture, they are, of course, furniture goes into the home, but I think there's really a lot, like even with the level, just the levels of homes that are out there, with the levels of furniture that are out there as well, and like it's not just about the look too, it's also about how they get constructed.
Sure.
And
the quality of the materials,
Absolutely. And then how it gets put together. I mean, you've seen even as renovation, some terrible work done, stuff that just mask it. That's
100%.
Yeah. And then there are builders who they're like, you get it done right. Like do it right. You
do it right or you don't do it at all.
Or you don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. And I believe in that philosophy as well.
I had a client even tell me, I believe she was Polish, who she said, Matteo, I'm too poor not to buy good quality. And, and it's right. You buy it once, you take
forever.
care of it.
Sure.
And, because that's also the thing. The fact that like the furniture is really costly. but it doesn't mean it's indestructible.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's all those things. Like beautiful marbles can still be extremely costly, but hey, you can stain them. You can etch them.
My biggest fear is the white marble, right? Particularly,
in
the kitchen
and your
right?
bathroom.
Oh my God! Like we ended up going with
a lot of it.
But it's porcelain.
Is it
A
where?
lot of it
in your
is
kitchen?
a lot of it is fake marble. It looks great. You'd never know the difference. But even still, with the porcelain, like. I've come down and my kids spilt a glass of wine or grape juice or something like that, and it's sitting there for 20 minutes, and it's like, oh my God, it's going to stain. It's going to stain. You freak out. You invest the money, you want your stuff taken care of. I don't know if you've got young kids, if you have rooms. Remember when we were kids? I don't know if it's the same in the Italian culture. But certainly we all grew up with rooms that the kids were not allowed in.
Oh.
There was the living room was roped off. You don't go in the living room. The living room is just for guests.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
definitely, I was in Woodbridge for a while, and
sure.
that was very common.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, even in our house in Woodbridge, there was a more formal, it was the family room and living room.
Yeah.
Right? And then in the living room, we didn't usually go, but we were allowed to go in there. It was just there's no television in there,
right.
So we're going to be in the
it was frowned
in the family.
upon.
Yeah. Even my relatives, they all had another. They had the family room with the television, and the other room that was for conversation.
Sure,
but it was not that it was roped off.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Actually roped off, but you knew you were getting a beating. Screwed something up in there.
Yes. Yeah.
So I've always wondered. So oddly enough, when you look at the history of Toronto. I'm from the Jewish community, Matteo's from the Italian community, and the two communities have always sort of followed each other in the city. From Kensington, Corso Italia, all throughout the city, I guess new immigrants at the same time, so share a lot of the same houses. The neighborhood I live in, Clanton Park, is probably half Italian, half Jewish, with some Portuguese mixed in there. Tell me about the basement kitchen. Do you know much about the basement kitchen?
Not really.
No?
I mean, I know that many have them.
Yeah.
For Italians, but Jewish did not.
No, Jewish did
not. No.
But I'm always in Italian
maybe one
houses.
or two clients that I know. And I think it was for the large events. Like even Jessica's parents had that.
So day-to-day in the basement?
No.
Day-to-day big events?
Sorry. Daily was used upstairs.
Okay.
The downstairs one was when it's like a Christmas or, maybe someone's birthday too.
Right.
It's really when you're having many people come down and then they're, especially with the Italian ones, as opposed to potluck.
Yeah.
It's you come over and prepare the food there.
I know all the cooking took place in the basement.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing was because in the Jewish community, not in my part of the Jewish community, but the Orthodox community, they always have kitchens in the basement as well because they have a Passover kitchen, right?
Yes.
Because they can't use their regular kitchen. So it was always a transition. You knew if you walked into a house, it was either an Italian house or a Jewish house based on the kitchen basement. Although you had a little more terracotta tile or something like that if it was an Italian family. But the similarities between the two communities are
although there were a number
crazy.
in Forest Hill that also had the terracotta floors. That was still kind of big in the
70s.
No,
sure.
But then it even had a resurgence, I'd say in the late 90s, early 2000.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. There were. And I remember even an Austrian client in Rosedale. That's what they did.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. Well, it's easy to maintain.
Yeah, for sure.
So
you drop stuff and it's...
and it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right. Even if you crack it,
up.
they have already all marks on it. Yeah.
For sure. So,
but we never had a second, even in our house in Woodbridge that was really large, we never had
a second kitchen.
Yeah. And even thinking to my relatives, none did. Mind you, often.
How much of your family lived in Toronto? When you guys moved
only
here?
Us.
Just you?
Yeah.
Extended family, anything like that?
No. No, it was just my dad and my mom who decided to take off.
Take the leap.
Yeah.
Was it to start the business? Is that why they
No,
came here?
my father had a successful business like a furniture store, much like we have today.
In
In Italy. I think a lot had to do with the politics at the time.
Sure.
The Communist Party at that time in the late 70s and Red Brigades, all of that.
The typical story, he wanted a better life for his kids. He was worried where the country was heading.
Yeah.
Sell off
everything.
Yeah,
house at the beach, the home, the business, and
it's amazing.
And leave with 3 kids, 3 little kids.
Crazy balls that takes. Could you imagine?
No.
Like, I think about that sometimes. Like, to have the balls to sell off everything and move to a strange country just to give your kids a better chance. Like,
well, you know what? He also he did have some friends who were here.
Okay.
There were like two or three somewhat close friends that he had. So that was one of the reasons. In fact, when we left Italy, we didn't even know where we were going.
How old were you?
Almost 2.
Almost 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like apparently we went to like 14 countries. Like to get the money out, everything went to Austria.
Right.
And then from there, kind of circling around, we ended up going to the Dominican Republic where my father had a wealthy friend.
Really?
There. And, I think we were there for like 2 months. And my mom was like, this is not a place to raise a family.
We're not staying in Dominican Republic.
No.
Wow.
And then, my dad he didn't want to go to the U.S.
Yeah.
He always preferred sort of the...
worked out well for us.
Yeah.
So your dad's English isn't the best, today. Like, how does he start a whole business?
I know. Yeah. No. He's like, he just manages. He knew a little bit of English, but of course it was really thick accent.
Yeah.
And, he's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So even when he was here, with this friend of his that was doing large developments, they did a few homes. Mm-hmm. They lost money. Apparently, like both
he tried to build homes.
He tried to build, and that failed. Then our kitchen company, they were actually trying to start a factory in Toronto or outside of Toronto, but that failed. And my father bought all of their inventory, and for 2 years he sold it off. He did he got a cabinet maker who was also this Friulano, and they would do modifications, and they did that for 2 years. And then from there was this Italian Interiors that was also run by a Friulano that my father knew that was basically going out of business. He wanted to leave, so my father bought the inventory, paid off his debts, and started the company like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and and then got in contact with, at the time, my dad's wife, let's say, the newer wife, that she worked at Ital Interiors.
Stepmother at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. She worked at Ital Interiors, and she was dating one of Canada's great architects, Bruce Kuwabara. And from there, my dad got to know him.
He made the connection.
Wow. Then Bruce redid the showroom there, did when we moved in 85, and then did the latest one that we're in now.
It goes to show you, man, if you don't take the risks, you have to put yourself in the right place at the right time. If you just sit back, and it's never going to happen. My big saying is, do or do not, there is no try. I have tremendous... Look right there. I'm trying to figure out a way to hang it up for the podcast. That was almost the name of my podcast, Do or Do Not, There Is No Try. I have such tremendous respect for people that are prepared to risk it all, take the risk, and start something.
Yeah. So I don't think you have much respect for me.
No, why? I'm in the exact same position as you, right?
Yeah, but you take risks.
Yeah. But
I need my dad, who's 80, to still push me.
Oh, please. You are the face of your business. You are the man. Did you always want to be in that business?
No.
No?
No. No.
Fell into it, or what happened?
In a way, actually...
Because you're so good at it. You're
I know,
the
but
most
I always
stylish
liked,
person I know.
Please.
I don't know very many stylish people.
I always liked quick chit-chats. And I always thought I wanted to be in the restaurant business or even the bar. Yeah. I just kind of, I liked being social like that, especially at the time.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. And when I was 17, 18, my sister's boyfriend at the time, he was a chef, and I went and worked with him.
In the restaurant?
In the restaurant.
Why don't I remember that?
Yeah, well, I was
old?
18. This was first year university.
Yeah.
and it was a place called Bravi that came from, do you remember a place on Eglinton called Sette Mezzo? Excuse me.
No.
No? Okay. And late 90s, coming out of the recession, it was one of the restaurants that kind of, on Eglinton, right at close to the Allen Road.
Okay.
Or in between Bathurst and Allen Road. And, it was the hot place to be. And it was all Italians. And my sister's boyfriend at the time worked there. Then from there, he moved to this one downtown called Bravi, and I went to work there, and I realized
What were you doing?
I was in the kitchen.
Busboy? Or?
No, I was in the kitchen
Sous
first.
chef?
Yeah, in a way.
Really?
And it was just, I realized this is not an
Holy
industry.
Shit, I did not know this about
Yeah,
you. Too much work?
You know what? It would just...
Brutal lifestyle.
Yeah. Like, and I don't, yeah, it wasn't, I don't want to
Wasn't for
speak
you.
badly. It wasn't
Yeah,
for me,
it wasn't for you.
like you really had to,
Work hard.
it would have taken like 30 years
Yeah,
to
build a
make the money
business.
and while I was doing that, I was enjoying it and I loved working with him,
That's a crazy industry, though. Crazy nights, lots of alcohol, like
That's-
huge amounts of addiction in that industry, like just craziness.
Yeah, but when you're like, 20 years old, you could do that.
Yeah,
Stay
for
up
sure.
till
It's
3,
fun.
and then I'm back in there at 9 o'clock in the morning,
sure. Yeah.
And the evenings, like, it was a lot of fun
Yeah.
to do that, even in the kitchen, because, like, this guy, he was
And
great.
if you have a hopping space, it's cool. You're the man.
Yeah. But, then when he left, I was like, I'm out of here, too.
Right.
I can't do this. But even just, and after that, I went and worked for another friend at a pizza pasta place at Sherway Gardens in the food court,
Wow.
just to kind of, to work.
Get some experience.
And that's when my brother joined Ital Interiors, and he was also helping my dad open up that contract side, the office furniture, because I think my brother, much like my dad, very entrepreneurial
Sure.
and always wanted to like grow the business. But when we were at home, I would redo my room. I had a large room, and I would redo the furniture.
Redesign it.
Yeah, and I'd always get my father's opinion after, and every time he would be like, "No, it looks good. It looks good." And then my brother, came to me one day and he's like, "Matteo, you should come and work for us." I'm like, but I don't know if I'm good at this. And he's like, "No, you are.
Yeah.
Like you can, how to lay out furniture. Like not everybody knows how to do that." I'm like, "What do you mean? This is
sure.
just easy." And he's like, "Not everyone has that."
So it was in your genes.
A little bit, yeah. Well, again, I think just through osmosis, like being, both my parents loved design. My mother was a very fashionable lady.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew your mom.
Yeah, I know.
That's too bad.
Well, she died. She died when she was 45. Back then.
45.
Yeah, I know. Just think, a year ago for us.
For us. Wow.
Yeah. But she was very, and especially at Woodbridge at the time, like there wasn't so much high fashion.
Sure.
And so my mother's really stood out,
Yeah.
let's say,
Well, for me, like right from birth, this is what I wanted to do. I knew it. I knew I couldn't start working for my dad. And my dad, I don't know if hard's the right word, but I certainly didn't get any favors when I started in this industry. It was starting at the bottom. You do it on your own, as harsh as possible, which I probably cursed at the time. But thank God, because I figured it out on my own.
Yeah.
But, always wanted to do it. I certainly find
What was starting off, though? Like,
What did I start working at?
yeah. What were you doing when
I
you
started a business in university that took off. I was doing virtual tours of university campuses. I was doing websites for off-campus housing. And it was doing well. We were making a lot of revenue, but we couldn't figure out how to make a profit. And then the dot-com burst happened. So any interest in financing us went away. But we were doing like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in revenue. It was great. Yeah, and I left school. I didn't finish school. Came back to Toronto. Yeah, I was running the business. Every weekend I was going to a different U.S. school, traveling, selling like packages. It was awesome at that age.
Like selling it to the university so
selling
that
it to the
they could
university.
use it to...
So you could go on their
advertise.
website and take a virtual tour of the campus.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah.
But then Stephanie was coming back from law school. I was not with her at the time. I figured if I wanted her to take me seriously, I had to have like a real job because she's older than I am. But you look younger, sweetheart.
Yes, she does.
So I got a job at a real estate investment trust managing properties. I was a property manager, which was the worst job in the world, residential properties. I've got crazy stories from that. And then we got engaged.
Even in those years too.
Oh, brutal. And once we got engaged, I found out I had cancer right afterwards, and I went through that whole process. And while I was on the shelf, I started to get my real estate license. And right after we got married, I jumped into the business. So 20 years I've been in this business now, which is crazy.
Yeah. See, for me, like at the age of 14, those were like also recession years where they were.
I know well.
So there was no cleaning crew doing Ital interiors. So it was my brother, sister, and I that would go down. Yeah.
Good.
Then even Saturdays, at times my dad didn't have employees that he could pay for the Saturday. So I was going down just to answer the phone. That could happen.
Sabrina, my daughter, answers the phones here on Sundays.
That's awesome.
She works 6 hours a day. Yeah, you got to bring the family in, and they got to learn how to make a buck. And puts hair on your chest.
That's
Hopefully
right.
not my daughter's, but
Oh yeah.
These kids
and I think it's
learn.
what also lost some of the hair.
So you're going to get your kids in?
I hope so.
Yeah.
We'll see. I definitely want them to stay in school as long as they can and hopefully do what they love. But if there's nothing, then hopefully they'll still have a business to fall back on.
Yeah.
Like for my father, I think it worked out very well that we're working there because now he's basically
an exit strategy.
He has, yes,
Right?
That's right.
So we're running short on time. I wanted
sorry.
to get to one thing in particular. It's an issue that I have with some modern homes. And not that you're a builder or an expert or anything, but I'd love your opinion on it. You look at homes that were built in a modern style in the 70s, and a lot of them haven't held up very well. You look at some of the modern homes that were built in the 90s. Some of them haven't held up very well. So people that like modern love modern. That's the only thing they'll consider. How do you protect yourself? How do you make sure? Because, there's nothing more stunning than a brand new modern home. Clean lines, like just, the perfect furniture. Everything's awesome. And I know it's more expensive to build modern homes, usually. How do you build a modern home that will hold up for years, like Frank Lloyd Wright sort of style? Like, how do you ensure?
Yeah, but even those ones, it's materiality, right? Like, and I'd say I'm sort of surprised you said like the 70s. I mean, the 70s was a long time ago, but from what I've heard, that the 70s had good construction.
Construction, yes. I'm talking style.
Oh well. Yeah. Okay. Well, style. It's
It's in the eye of the beholder,
yes,
I guess, for
yes.
sure.
And at times it's even like the technology at the time. So what you could do with maybe the windows, that you couldn't get 12-foot sheets of glass.
I should clarify. I'm talking about curb appeal. I should have made that from the outside. I'm talking about how some modern homes look from the outside. I should have clarified that.
So and your thoughts are like, how can you maintain them? Or
no, how can you? I guess maybe you just don't take too many risks. Like there's some homes that are just so out there. When it comes time to sell them, will they still appeal to most people? Like how do you?
Yeah, how do you get something that's classic that works much like a Frank Lloyd Wright home?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think one of the things with the Frank Lloyd Wright is the materiality, of the stone, concrete, wood, glass, like these easy to identify.
And putting it into their surroundings.
Yeah.
Like stucco, I think, is the worst.
Yeah.
Right? And people that put, like, if you're going to build a modern home, you do it like your sister on a spectacular lot. Right. I think the lot is so important when it comes to building a modern home.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and then it's even those, like, there's a lot of really beautiful brickwork, which I'd say was even something that like the 70s did.
Sure.
But there are like a few architects who are really, doing the entire home all in brick, even some creating like details with it that I think is really interesting. That along with beautifully executed windows, and a roof, like a nice roof compared to just shingles. Like even,
any modern home I can picture always has a flat roof.
Yeah, and that doesn't
Always.
have to be the case.
I know.
You know?
I know.
Like,
That's what I'm trying to get at. Could you
Siamak
do...
Hariri has done a couple really beautiful ones, even in Forest Hill, that were, from the 90s. I know of like one on Millbank, one on Dunvegan, really triangular.
Really?
And it's, I think
to
quite...
picture the houses.
Yeah, there's even his own home. He's done a roof like that I think is quite beautiful. And then again, it's like that. I think, if it's brass or shoot, I can't remember what the material is of the roof, but it's also, then dealing with stone mixed with wood, and then you look and it fits in so nicely. Mm-hmm. And then you just sort of stare and you're like, Jesus, that is a gigantic sheet of glass. That's not imposing. It's not in your face, but it's like, this is running 2 stories, 1 sheet, and like,
unbelievable.
To not be in your face and to be subtle,
Can you mix? Could you have a traditional looking home from the outside and then you go inside and it's just...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think even there's a lot that, what's tricky, and I think there are some, like I know GH3, she's done, Pat Hansen has done some work where you have this older home, whether it be in Forest Hill or Rosedale, and then building a contemporary, but like executed so well. Drew Mandel did a great job even at on a classic home on Ava.
Dropping names.
No, well, it's just who did it.
Yeah,
I don't
appreciate
actually
it.
do so much business with Siamak. I mean, he's known us for years, but I think he's also one of the most talented architects.
Yeah.
Especially doing residential. And he's done some homes in Hogs Hollow where
Beautiful.
it's crazy. Like, look at he did the McKinsey Consultant building on Charles, and like that is like a Frank Lloyd Wright.
Sure.
And he's also studied that.
Yeah.
He came from, he was at KPMB with Bruce Kuwabara. He's also from Diamond Schmidt Schmidt and Diamond and
You're so
Zeidler.
impressive, man.
No, but please, it's but I think those are the things that do it. And the same onto furniture. There are those where, like, especially one of Flexform that we carry, this Antonio Citerio, who designs for several different designers. When you look at it, and you're like, I have no idea when this was done. Mm-hmm. It could be the 50s, but like the 50s didn't have that technology, to deal with such a thin metal base. Or,
Sure.
Anyway.
So I think you sort of just answered my question. Can you take, let's say I own my home. I'm not going to be selling my home. I'm not going to be moving, but I've got the bug. Could I transform my house to feel like a modern home just with a coat of paint and new furniture?
For sure.
Yeah.
I would say so. You could definitely bring it up. Like, I also think like modern has one sort of connotation and, often referred to more from like the 50s and
Sure.
and a little bit more brutal,
Yeah.
if you will, like Le Corbusier with like chrome frame and sorry, I'm losing.
That's okay. Should I be saying contemporary?
Thank you. That's
Yes.
where I was. But then there's contemporary, and a lot of design today is it's almost more transitional.
Sure. Like a combination of the two.
combination of the two. Yeah.
That's
like,
what we went for with our house.
Yes,
a combination
you did.
of the
Absolutely.
two. Yeah.
Absolutely. But again, I think like more importantly is dealing with good materials.
Yeah.
And building like a quality home that then you can continue to. Because at times it's like, it's crazy that they're building these giant homes and all just like 2x4s and even shitty ones.
Yeah.
Where today, like those LSLs, those reinforced ones, LVLs.
If you're going to do it right.
I think so.
That's the message from Matteo.
And then you have the longevity of it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Buddy, I love this. Do you know your website address? Should I give it away?
It's italinteriors.ca.
There you go.
That's right. And we should have a new one up in the next few months. We're working with a designer to do that. And then we should also have a proper Instagram, and we'll join the 20th, the 20th
probably don't
century.
know this, but I looked. Your last Instagram post was April 18th, 2018.
Yeah, it was probably Jessica.
So I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, I loved it. Thank you.
Guys, there's no better person if you're looking for furniture, if you're looking to just even have a hug or a good discussion. Check out his showroom. Give him a call. What's the phone number?
416-366-9540.
Matteo, I love you.
I love you, dear
very
buddy.
much for being here. Guys
you.
that are listening, we have Veronica Vida coming in for our 6th episode, so stay tuned for that. And appreciate you all listening in. Matteo, you're the man, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. You are.
Love you.
That was a lot of fun.